shattering a part of me, and I can take it. My heart is so hollow, the blood has an echo inside of my veins. My heart is so hollow, your voice is an arrow, making the pain. My heart is so hollow, hollow, hollow. My heart is so hollow, hollow, hollow.
Live on Facebook. You ready to count us down for the show? Welcome to the show, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I'm here with Jennifer Hernandez of Legacy Mutual Mortgage.
Hey.
I like having you on the show because it's a reality check for everybody.
Yeah, on what's really going on.
Yeah, what's really going on, because you do like a gazillion loans a month. So it's like...
We do a lot.
It's like, hey guys, this is... We were kind of talking... Well, we talked last month, and then we talked on before the show today. You know, you kind of hear it, and I hear it too. Oh yeah, this market's going to slow down. Everything's going to be back to normal. And I'm like, I don't see it, man.
I mean, we've seen referral volume slow down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a function of summer vacations and graduations and stuff. But the buyers are very much still out there, and the sellers are. I mean, it's all in the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And that podcast or the webinar that you sent me from the Atom Data Company that I keep sending to people about forecasting that values. It's going to be several years before values really. So you think it's going to be a seller's market for
2028.
years?
This isn't going to stop anytime soon. You know, the number I keep looking at is builders are 10 years behind demand. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just don't have any houses to sell. Like, we're 50% below supply. I mean, it's like, historically, like, what are we at? Like 10 minutes of inventory on the market? I haven't looked at let me pull up the last HAR report. It's absolutely insane. And, this whole idea that things are going to get better and it's going to go back to how it was, where it was just super easy. It's like, it's not.
We are seeing a lot of clients calling us about refinancing where they want to, stay put, stay in place, remodel, but then trying to get your house remodeled. That's a whole other thing. Can we, while you're looking that up,
yes,
you want to talk about that? Because some people might want to remodel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they start looking at the price of houses and they go, why don't I just redo the kitchen or something? Yeah, let's talk about how that product works.
Let's talk about that. So first, if it's an investment property, you need to go through like a hard money lender. Like there's no rehab loans through the conventional stuff that I do, which is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac on. Yeah,
let's call Jet Lending, and they've got something for that.
Yeah. But on your primary residence, you can, in Texas, you can cash out of your property up to 80% of the value. Mm-hmm. So whatever the market value is. Now, if you've just acquired the property, you have to wait 6 months. You cannot pull cash out. Like, let's say you buy it and you do put some work into it, or for whatever reason, you want to refinance it right away. Mm-hmm. You can't do that until 6 months pass. It's like a cooling off period that lenders require to let values settle down, or that's kind of the thought process behind it.
Cooling off period. That's funny.
It's called a cooling off period. That's
okay.
what it's called.
Oh, I didn't know that is the actual term they use.
It's in the guidelines. It's a cooling off period.
Interesting, because houses are appreciating so much to pull cash out unless it's 6 months.
Yeah, they want to make sure that things settle and just let things settle to make sure that it's not at the top of the market. Lenders are skittish. They don't want to be the ones holding the bag with the no candy in it.
That's right.
when it's at the top of the market. So usually in a normal market, that's how it happens, even though now everything is really appreciating. But let's just say the 6 months passes
Okay.
or you've been there for a while. You have an existing mortgage in place. So you calculate what you think the market value is, what an appraiser, what, just kind of look and see what things are selling for in the area that are similar to yours. And let's say that's $300,000, and you take 80% of that, which is $240,000. And let's say your mortgage is $200,000. So you subtract $200,000 from $240,000. So your equity is $40,000, let's say. And then you are going to have closing costs. So closing costs are usually, it depends on your loan amount, but let's just say it's $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're going to get the net from that. So when you do take equity out and it's your primary, there's a couple ways to do it. You can refinance the big loan that you have in place and add on to it and just extend it and increase it. Or you can just do a second lien loan. You can do a little second lien, like a home equity line of credit. So there's different ways to take cash out. So just depending on what people's current rate is, what their value is, we advise them on which one is, better for them with rate wise and stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty simple, but if they can get out the amount that they need, because the other thing you could do is just a construction loan. You go to a bank, you get a big rehab remodel loan. If it's like a big rehab, if it's not $40,000, $50,000, do you have enough equity for what you want to do?
Yeah.
And in that case, you can go above the 80%. If it's not a cash out loan, it's just like a little construction loan.
Like a loan. Yeah, personal loan sort of thing. That
they're
attaches to the property.
They're going to put a lien on it, home improvement, but those rates are a lot higher, and usually it's a 20-year AM, so it's not always as attractive,
Okay. So if you like the house you're in, you just want to update it, that's a big option, right?
You could do it, yeah.
Instead of having to move and go kind of down that route. So I pulled up the latest HAR report. So here we are at the total active listings are down 41% year over year.
Okay.
Active listings. Another way to say that, there's 41% less inventory than there was a year ago. And total single family home sales are up 48%. It's an 88% delta. It's like, I don't think people who look at economics and data and all that every day understand how crazy that is. There's an 88% swing between sales and available properties to buy.
So people are still looking for houses and there's less. Do you think the less inventory is still because of COVID?
That's a good question. And I think it's a valid question because I think that was true during COVID. But, I was chatting with one of my business partners yesterday and I said, we're still in the middle of the COVID stuff.
And it's still there.
It's still there, right? So, I still go to a lot of restaurants and bars and stuff, and some of them are full and some of them are not. So I think there's still a little bit of that COVID stuff. But then I think the other side of that too is we have more people moving here than leaving. And I think we've got, how can I put this? Because prices have gone up so fast, I think we have less people putting their houses on the market to buy another house.
That's higher.
Right. So it's like, parents are a good example. Okay, I want to downsize. They're in a 4,000 square foot house in the Woodlands, right? I'm not saying my parents, but it's fictitious parents, right? Oh, I want to go, maybe we'll go buy a little 2,500 square foot house that's closer to the golf course, whatever, right? And then they look at the prices and they go, wow, that's more than my 4,000 square foot house. I'm not leaving. So I think there's some of that that's taking place in the marketplace. If you look at it I'll read the numbers real quick. Single family houses in the last year at the median home price have gone up 22%.
In the last year. So the median home price now, it's like 370, right?
304. The average is 390. Crazy, isn't it? So, we're down to 1.4 months of inventory. A-Rock, did I just totally miss the show? I missed the end of the show? Oh, good. Okay, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was reading this at the same time. So we're down to 1.4 months of inventory. So when I talk to Dr. Dotzauer and some of these other economists, they'll tell you, look, we got 40 years of data in Texas. It says we have to get to 10 months of inventory before we see price reductions. So I'm like, I don't know how we get there. All right, we get back from break. We'll talk more with Jennifer Hernandez of Legacy Mutual Mortgage. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. He's got we have crews on every project right now.
I bet. How many projects you have going?
I have no idea. I can't keep up with it. We had 4 project managers in our office this morning. That's their construction meeting. It's crazy. I don't know how many
Just
crews.
Mr. TX project,
Just
not
our-
to mention your.
Just our stuff.
Well, I'm going to ask you when
okay.
we're back on.
All
'Cause
right.
I was going to ask you something, but I'm gonna hold it.
Welcome back, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I'm here with Jennifer Hernandez of Legacy Mutual Mortgage. So the market's crazy,
Yes.
and I don't
It's
see
still
it.
crazy.
And you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah,
And
26 years.
26 years. Have you ever seen it like this before?
No.
No. Not at
No.
all.
It's really crazy. This is unprecedented times, but we are, just like in any forever, this has always been the case that there's dozens. In fact, I made a list of 88 reasons that there can be turbulence in a transaction. I sat down one day and I actually made a list. And I probably could have kept going to 100, but I thought it was a fun marketing.
Yeah, that's a fun number.
So 88, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, the deal, I had turbulence on one deal this morning for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
2 of the 88. I mean, it's a Russian roulette. So those things are still going to happen. And what I'm finding is just there's less breathing room. Everyone is at such a high level of everything is just so explosive,
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's more important than ever that, if you're listening to this, I mean, I'm a big proponent. I love it when I see investors have a different realtor represent them. When you're, especially when you're the seller and you're also in the business, or me as a lending person, I don't do my own loan. I mean, I have someone else do my loan because it just helps things neutralize,
Yeah.
And I just think it's really important for anyone in the industry, whether you're a buyer or a realtor or whoever, have your team of experts. It is more important than ever to have the trusted, title company that the real, if you're a buyer and you have no idea, I don't know, title company, who should I use? Well, let the sellers, let the 2 agents figure it out of who's going to give the best service. As you know, title is a super important thing. We can't choose the appraiser, but having the lender, making sure the lender is local. I'm super big on local lenders that also have local connections to good appraisers that aren't going to be 100 miles away or 50 miles away. So the inspection company, everything is so important to have that network of people. And that's a great thing y'all do with the mastermind is y'all really have a network of trusted people that deliver, do a great job, are educated, they weren't just in the business yesterday. Because everything is so busy, every company is trying to get expert people to work for them, and you can't get it.
It's a good way to. I completely understand what you're saying. It makes total sense, right? It's like nerves are frayed because the market is so competitive and it's moving so fast, and it's never gone this fast before.
It's never gone this fast, and so this is part of my sales. I guess you call it a sales pitch, but part of my delivery, my service promise. And when people are I had a guy ask me yesterday, he's like, okay, so you were referred by the realtor, but tell me in 90 seconds why I should use Jennifer Hernandez. And I said, well, when there's turbulence, I am going to lose sleep at night if your deal is not going well. I'm super invested because you were referred by, XYZ realtor. I care about what's happening. You're not just a number to us. The online lenders, they're sleeping at night.
Yeah, they're just fine.
They're like, oh yeah, no, it's going to close in 5 days. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
We're delaying. No, I'm referral only. I'm busting every ounce of energy that I have to make sure that everything is running at a super high level.
Yeah.
So I'm just a big endorser of using the trusted network whenever possible, because it does make a difference. So this market has really been a challenge to that. I would not want to be a listing agent right now. So when y'all are, so we're going to switch gears really quick.
Okay.
So listing, when
Yes.
y'all are listing properties, I mean, are you even doing much of that right now? Or are you doing
Yeah,
mostly
we do it.
wholesale?
We're selling an apartment complex and some other stuff right now. So
Well,
yeah,
let's
we totally
say
list
single family though.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say single family. So are y'all getting just gazillions of offers, or
Yeah,
like what are you seeing?
It's
30,
insane.
40,
so
50?
Here's
How many?
here's how we do it. We price it at obviously the upper end of the market. Typically, when we're selling a house, it will set the new comp, whatever it is in that submarket. So we will list it on a like really late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning. And obviously they're vacant. I would recommend this is how I sell my personal house too. You list it on the market, and then you will see the showings just come pouring in. Bang, right after one after another. Just showings
Why
all
Wednesday,
weekends.
Thursday? Because of the weekend?
Because the weekend and this town, half this town is off on Friday. If you're in healthcare, you're oil and gas,
That's
you're
true.
probably on a 980, or maybe you're on a, what do they call it, a 12, essentially work 40 hours. So half this town is off on Friday.
Yep.
So what happens is when you list it on Wednesday, late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, most of the agents and the buyers have got their little search criteria set up, so they immediately get hit with an email that says this property's on the market. So then they've got enough time in the next 24 hours to, it's usually a family, right? It's like, hey, honey, what do you think of this house? Okay, it's really cool. They're going back and forth at work, right? Because, it's Thursday. All right, let's go see it Friday morning at this time. So you're giving the marketplace about 24 hours to respond, to say, at least let's go look at it. And then they go walk the property, and then you end up with, gazillion offers. So it just depends on the submarket and the price point. We're about to list a house in the Heights for about 800. I don't expect that one to, it could be wrong. It might just blow off the shelves, right?
Yeah.
But it's probably going to be a, couple week process, or maybe a 2-month process, as opposed to, putting something on the west side of town, near Katy or in Houston. We've got another one that if it's not listed already, if it's not listed this week, it'd be listed next week. That property hits the market. They'll probably have 50 showings in 24 hours. How they get that many people in there, I have no idea. But it'll have a gazillion showings, 20 offers, and it's
How
getting
does
crazy out there.
So as a listing agent, so just for the people listening, and I'm interested, of course, what we can do to help our buyers get the deals, right? And so what kind of things are you seeing, or when you're selling to other, owners, not investor to investor,
right.
what are y'all looking for? What are kind of the high points as a lister?
The highest
seller?
net number, and that's obviously the most important, is like getting paid, right? What's the highest net number? And then the second thing, which is the reason we put you guys on our listings, right? It's like, is the lender a real lender?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these buyers that are using like the big online companies or some mortgage broker we've never heard of, or just not. I've been in the business 10 minutes, and I'm like, this is not going to close, man. Like, you got to go get a real lender that does a real, you guys do pre-approvals, right? And y'all do full loan doc pre-approvals. Full. So as a seller, that's important to us. It's like, we talk to the mortgage professional, and they'll say, oh yeah, we just kind of looked at their bank statements and we gave them or maybe we did they sent us a copy of their credit report. It's like, man, they need to do a full doc pre-approval, because we've got to know that when this property's on the market, it goes to somebody to actually buy the thing. So the way you guys operate has always been what we're looking for in that mortgage part. Give them your contact information, because there's probably a lot of folks that are like...
So go to my website. It has all my info. It's Loan, Loan with Jen, Loan with Jen, 1N.com. And you can get my email and phone number there. But it's super important. So I call the listing agent proactively. Once I know that a agent has sent the buyer's offer, I say, hey, text me the address, and I look up the agent on HAR, and
You just call the agent?
I call.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
if I don't reach them, I video text, and I CC the buyer. And I would think that all lenders do that. And I'm
No,
like,
they don't.
But they don't?
You'd be the only one.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. All right, we get back to the break. We'll talk more about
That's
what's going on
interesting.
in this market. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. They don't do that.
It's just logical.
I know.
Trying to help your buyers get the offer, especially in the lower ranges,
Yeah. We have all of our private lenders and investors on like a follow-up campaign. Like they get 2 birthday cards from us a year and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm amazed how many people don't do any of that kind of stuff. Welcome back, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I'm here with Jennifer Hernandez of Legacy Mutual Mortgage. We're talking about crazy marketplace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you've got to kind of go that extra mile to secure that loan.
Yeah. And I also actually I'm about to publish it. We're just fine tuning it with marketing, but a winning offer checklist so that we can at pre-approval. So our pre-approval letter is going to have a big stop sign on it on the first page, which is obnoxious so that everybody reads it.
It's colored, big red one,
It's
big red stop sign.
Red stop sign.
That's awesome.
And then it'll have a couple pages behind it. The letter will be right behind it, but it's going to have a winning offer checklist. So if you're a realtor and you want one, email me at jennifer.hernandez@legacymutual.com and I'll send it to you. But it's going to be a tool for the buyers and their agent to go over, this, I think I came up with 8 to 10 things to discuss with the buyer. Like, what are you willing to do and not to do? Are you willing to give more option fee? Are you willing, why don't you just flip flop the earnest money and the option fee?
Yeah.
Just make the option fee what you would make the earnest money.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
what else? This is the way we've actually used the earnest money. So we did a no option earnest money for full price, which means essentially we bought it, right?
Yeah.
Provided we get clear title. And I don't recommend that as a new buyer strategy. It's a little risky, but it shows that you're pretty darn serious.
Well, when you're really serious, and some people, of course, might not be willing to do that. And then, but different things for the buyers to open their eyes to the vocabulary, because they don't know.
Right.
So just for talking points to try to enhance, because we see a mixture of all of it. I mean, we see some offers that buyers paying title, some offers with bigger option fee, some that have shorter financing periods, or on our W-2 borrowers, we pre-approve them so thoroughly that I'm like, look, y'all qualify for, you could waive financing if you want. I mean, still do the financing addendum, but check the box that says it's not contingent on financing.
Yeah, and
for our W-2 borrowers, we tell them when they can do that if they feel comfortable with it.
And what are we talking about here? A couple $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 in earnest money. Now, I granted, everyone hears that and they're like, no, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, well, is it? Because if you close that house, what ends up happening? These houses are appreciating at the median home price $50,000 a year. Like, you know what your $50,000 mistake is? The house you didn't buy last year.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think a lot of people. Now you're still getting. I think you still get an inspection. I think that's important to do. But it's up to you if you want to do it or not. I think it's important for that retail buyer.
Do you think it's going to still be going up 10 to 15 to 20% per year in just most neighborhoods? I mean, not every neighborhood, but a lot of them.
I think you can bet on that for the next 3 years. In fact, this will be the thing that'll shock you. And we talked about this last night in our mastermind group. We have once a month we do Jason's property hunt. So Rob and I and the whole team, that was actually the meeting I was in before I came here, we get a bunch of properties under contract. And the deal we have with our mastermind is to say, look, you guys get right of first refusal for all the single family in Houston. So once a month, we sit down and say, all right, Rob and I got these 7 under contract, these 8, these 10. Which ones do y'all want? And they go, I'll take that one. And we've done all the analysis and everything. We've walked them. We've done all that stuff. So they look at it and go, take this one, and that one. So I think we sold all of them but one last night. And then the question is, well, what are you guys going to do with the other one? Well, that one ends up in one of our funds. They're all great deals. So the conversation I had with the folks that were in attendance last night, and I said, look, if houses are appreciating 20 to 30% a year, and I anticipate that happening for the next couple of years, what are happening with rents? Houses are going up so fast that it's going to push more people into the rental pool. Plus, we have people moving here. So I think we're going to see double-digit rent appreciation for probably 3 to 5 years, which is crazy. So I just don't...
It's crazy.
I keep asking folks, like, when does it stop? And I hear some folks say, well, housing affordability. I said, well, affordability only matters to people that are buying, not the whole marketplace.
I mean, it's been that way in coastal cities for a long time.
Yeah.
People are still buying there.
They're still buying.
They find a way.
Now what'll be interesting is, and I'd love to get your take on this. I could see the GSEs, the Fannies, the Freddies of the world stepping in and saying, because the appraisal issue has become such a problem, like getting how fast are you guys getting appraisals back these days?
2 weeks.
2 weeks or so?
Some of the more rural or outlying areas are 3, but 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. We anticipate at some point that getting appraisals back in a timely manner, I could certainly see somebody coming out and saying, hey, if it's at the median home price or below, a BPO would work.
Well, we got there are appraisal waivers. We got them on 2 clients this month that they're putting 20% down. It's their primary residence. They have high credit. They're a good risk.
Right.
And when the data is run in the Fannie Mae portal, because there's so much data now on appraisals that after all these years of houses being sold and resold in an area, the data bank with Fannie and Freddie is ginormous.
It's giant.
And so if a price is put in and it's a good risk borrower, it just says, no, waiver.
Yeah, we don't need
so
an
we get
appraisal.
them. I mean, when we least expect it, we get them. We got 3 this month, but we're getting them here and there. So what's a BPO is what?
Broker price opinion. Agent could sit
gotcha.
there and just pencil whip up.
Or they would
CMA.
say desk review for us. They'd
Okay.
say like not a drive-by or
Yeah,
whatever,
that's
or
a-
just a waiver.
That's all. That's how all our banks operate. Our banks are like, yeah, they do a drive-by, literally like, yep, still standing, and then make the block, right? So I just don't see this stopping anytime soon. And I'm always a contrarian, so I'm looking and digging, and I'm like, when does it stop? And it's like, I think it's somewhere between 25 and 28. Like if.
Well, we've got, so I believe, and I don't know if it's naive, but I think that some of the overflow from people that are moving to the Austin area, if people can work remotely more, I think it'll overflow to some of the more affordable areas like Houston or West Houston or, that aren't that far from Austin. Austin, we have an office there. It is nuts.
I imagine it's crazy.
It's crazy. And
folks are just mainlining coffee and just putting a cot underneath the desk.
It is. I can tell you, because I hear from them, it's people coming in from other states that have a lot of equity, and they come here and they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay $100K over for, that's no big deal. I just cashed in big on my sale in whatever state. So it's interesting. It's changing the dynamic of our real estate for sure.
And here's what I know about Austin. Austin is kind of like the tip of the spear for the real estate market in Houston and Dallas. So what's going to happen in Austin, we're 18 months behind them, 24 months.
Well, we're seeing our offers are not as crazy as theirs, but anything in Austin that if you want to get it accepted, it has to waive financing, has to sign the appraisal waiver, and it's just not, it's 2 to 3% earnest money. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is on every offer. Like they said that there's no chance of getting the house if you don't do that.
Well, so here's like everybody again, we keep having the same conversation. It's like there's not enough houses to sell. And I've said that now. We went back, October 2017 is when I said, if you think real estate's expensive now, just wait. And everybody thought it was funny and cute. And now everyone's like, oh no, he wasn't kidding. Like this is...
And at the time, you weren't even thinking COVID. You were just thinking
No.
because you knew of so what led you to believe that at that time? The builder shortage?
Builder shortage was a big one. And then household formation of millennials was going to hit about median 33 years of age this year and next year. So those were the 2 drivers. We knew household formation drives new homes, including jobs, but that we've not had a job problem here in Texas in like 50 years. So jobs, new home formation, and just lack of new homes.
We're seeing what I see in the younger, I guess you can call it millennial, but what's after millennial? What are they called that
I
are
think
now
they're called
turning in their 20s?
Zennials.
Zennials?
Is it?
So the younger generation, they're coming out smarter
Yes.
and more savvy with their money. And so they're seeing like rent and they're like, why would I forego a appreciating asset? They're smart.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it in a smart way. So there are a lot of first-time buyers out there. So, that's good. That's going to keep the market going. But the other thing I was going to say is that just when you were talking about prices going up and affordability, lumber is out of control.
yeah.
I had to get a new AC unit a couple of days ago, and last year I had to get a new AC unit, and it was about $9,500. 11.5. It went
Yeah.
up to it went up 20%.
20%.
I was just like, OMG.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And so everything, I mean, people can't get refrigerators. They're on back order for 6 weeks and 8 weeks. And so all these little things that we take for granted, like, oh, let me just go down to the hardware store or wherever you buy your appliances, right? Let me just go to the appliance store and let me just go buy one. Well, it's not that easy anymore. And so it's really, I mean, long term, it's going to compound.
And we get let's end it here, and we'll come right back. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. All right, brings back in quick, A-Rock, quick, because she's got to make her call.
Yeah, I'm good. I got 9 minutes.
Welcome back, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I know you got a call right after this.
Yeah,
So
we're
if you got to go, just bolt, and I'll just finish
I'm
the
good
show.
for 8 minutes. I'm
Okay, good.
Yeah.
When we were doing the grand opening in here, we were interviewing a lot of different vendors and stuff like that. And literally halfway through the show, somebody said, Jason, you're supposed to be on stage right now. And I was like, what do I do? I'm hosting it. And then Catherine walks in and she goes, I'll take it. I was like, okay. I'd literally beelined out in the middle of the show. But yeah, go back to the last segment. You're absolutely right. The stuff's not getting any cheaper. Part of that has to do with some of the things that Trump passed by executive orders. He was exiting the presidency there, where we could only import certain things and that sort of thing. So, and part of it is, I think suppliers are just getting away with stuff, you know, and the microchip thing, because that's a huge issue right now. I mean, we got microchips in light bulbs now, right?
Yeah.
The microchip thing is a huge, huge problem.
And those are all in foreign countries, right? They
Yeah,
don't
so
do
mostly
those
I
here.
think there's 15 or 20% of the chip manufacturers in the United States, but I imagine that's all for high-end stuff, right? So most of it is in Asia, and the problem is they're in everything. It's in cars and automobiles and watches and phones. Like, name something that doesn't have a chip in it these days. Your appliances have a ton of chips in them. So
Yep.
it's I just don't see that stuff getting cheaper. So I've been doing a lot of analysis, and I did a presentation on how Germany, post-war Germany, got out of the Weimar hyperinflation. And I won't go on to that in the show because it's literally like an hour-long talk. But what's interesting is if you go back and look at where we're at here in 2021, it looks very similar to 1971. Like, it's very, very similar. We had this rapid price appreciation and this inflation. And it wasn't until Paul Volcker showed up in like 79 where he said, all right, an adult's showing up, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we're going to stop. But what a lot of people don't remember is that, yeah, prices rapidly escalated from 71 to 79. And then when Paul Volcker walked in, prices didn't go back to 71. Like, the rate of inflation slowed down, but there was still inflation. So when folks tell me, oh, Jason, these prices are going to come back down, and I'm like, in what economic model have you ever run that's happened? In what country has that ever happened? It's never happened.
They might stabilize.
It's stabilized. That's all it does, right? It's stabilized. So with wood, that's, I don't know, up last time I looked, 400% since 2019. Okay, so maybe it slows down a little bit, but so what happens is it's up 400% over a year. So what happens if it stabilizes at its current rate? You take out 1 year, you're at what? 275% over 2 years? Like, the rate just slows down a little bit. It doesn't get cheaper necessarily. So
Becomes the new normal.
it's the new normal. It's the new normal. And, you know, our book came out last week, and the way we wrote it was there was pre-COVID, COVID, and post. And I know a lot of businesses that did well before COVID that got destroyed during COVID. Or they weren't doing good before COVID. In COVID, they did really well, and then they completely fell apart in 21. And it's rare for companies like yours and like ours that have done well across all those three different eras. And those three different eras were actually different marketplaces. Like, the real estate market changed 3 times in 18 months. And so we put the book together. We're like, hey, guys, this is now we've got a narrative to show this is how things have changed so much. It was a new normal 3 times, and now we're entering this post-COVID world where things are really expensive and there's not enough inventory. There's not enough. This is a classic example of there's too much money chasing too few real assets. So what's the real value of a dollar? And what I keep telling folks is, like, the smartest financial decision you can make right now, literally there's no smarter financial decision out there, is to own the house in which you live. Do not be a renter, because next year they're going to be 50 grand more, or 75 grand, or 100 grand more.
They're gonna keep going up, so you can fix your price.
Yeah, you fix your living costs for 30 years.
Your living. I mean, it'll go up a little bit because of insurance and taxes go up. But when it's your primary residence, you're capped. You can't go up more than 10% a year. So
yeah, so you're good. So I keep telling folks, like, we did the super investor meeting a couple weeks ago, and somebody said, "Hey, Jason, I'm doing X, Y, Z. I just sold my personal house." I'm like, "Well, you own the one you live in now." "No, I'm looking for one." I said, "You need to leave this meeting right now, and you need to go buy your personal house. Like, there's nothing more urgent in your life than to do that. Then we can talk about doing some investing.
Yeah.
But until you own that house that you live in, you're just wasting your time."
Yeah.
I've actually gone so far as, should I buy 2 houses for each one of my sons and just rent them out and say, "Hey, when you get done with college, you can live here, or you could sell it and then buy a house." Because the problem is their living expenses, right? Your housing is one of your biggest living expense, if not the largest. Is not inflation. It's inflation adjusted, but everything else isn't.
Right.
So it's you can't really go and buy prepay education. I mean, you kind of can, but you can't do it with healthcare, and you really can't do it with automobiles, which are the other 3 big inflationary assets. But you can with real estate. So it's a really weird world out there. But like you said, I think this is the new normal. I think it's more of this.
It's going to be certainly very interesting. But next month, though, I'm going to make a note, because next month when I'm on, I want to talk about actually what you hinted on stair stepping, like from the lender's perspective, how many can they can do their primary, and then how can they stack the Fannie Mae loans. So I'll make a note. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, I think there is for you finance nerds out there, a 30-year mortgage is like a 30-year option that cash flows on a piece of real estate. Like, it's. Some people had said, "Oh, I always thought of it as like a bond." I'm like, no. Think of it as a 30-year option that cash flows, and you can sell at any time. And they were like, "Oh, that makes total sense."
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time. That'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
well, thanks. I do have to run.
You do have to run. Give your contact information one more time.
All right. www.loanwithjen, and loan is LOAN with Jen, JEN.com.
And they can find you on every social media platform you're out there.
Every handle is Loan with Jen.
Excellent.
YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel. I got lots of videos.
It's really good. Your YouTube is excellent.
Lots of videos.
All right. Thanks for being on the show. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network, and we will see you back here in a bit. Look at there. Bringing it home.
I know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was